Right. Another one. Get comfortable. Yes, you. The one who's wasting valuable Imperial lumens staring at this data slate. I am Senior Auditor Valerius Kraus, and the Departmental Analytica has yet again been forced to halt critical work.
So the directive specifies an emergency deep dive.
I know what the directive says. It means my desk is now buried under paperwork about Xenos Fiscal Fraud instead of, anything that actually matters. We are auditing what the civilian loudmouths are calling C'tan spam.
The intelligence packet originates from the observer known as Auspex Tactics.
Him, yes. The one with the high-frequency signals making all sorts of hysterical, though I admit statistically, compelling claims. There's been a catastrophic shift in the Necron threat landscape, and it's all tied to this 500 worlds Titus supplement.
A market volatility event?
Volatility. This is a potential crash. So listen here, you gloss-brained wastage of Imperial resources. I don't care about your little toy soldiers. I don't care about your rules debates, and I most certainly do not care about your concept of fun.
The audit's sole parameter is efficiency.
Exactly. Efficiency. And the efficiency of our entire Imperial anti-tank doctrine, our heavy asset liquidation portfolio, is being called into question. Why? Because these galvanized, self-important alarm clocks are now apparently operating at an unprecedented level of tactical solvency.
So the central inquiry is...
The only thing that matters is whether this surge in C'tan usage represents a fiscal bubble, a temporary fad driven by hype that will pop under pressure, or if it's a true market crash, a fundamental systemic failure that renders our core military doctrine completely and utterly insolvent.
Understood, sir. The audit parameters are set. We are to focus on the 6 strong Necron lists from the initial telemetry.
I know the parameters. Just process the data. Try not to get coolant on the hard copy. The clock is running, and I already hate this. We start with the source of the infection. The architect of this entire administrative nightmare.
Games Workshop.
Games Workshop, an organization that I swear exists purely to inject unnecessary destabilizing volatility into the tactical market. They don't give a damn about strategic stability, do they?
Their quarterly reports are the primary focus.
Exactly. They care about selling new plastic assets. Yeah. And every time they release one of these campaign books, we're forced into immediate, costly doctrinal shifts. And the paperwork, my emperor, the paperwork.
The 500 World Supplement introduced 3 new Necron detachments, or portfolios of violence, as per the audit's terminology.
3, not 1, not 2. 3. As if we didn't have enough variables to track, we need to isolate which one is the primary vector for this, the C'tan asset inflation.
The detachments are the Pantheon of Woe, the Cursed Legion, and the Cryptic Conclave.
Right. Now, use your logic circuits for a moment. The primary infection vector is obviously the one designed from the ground up to maximize these expensive, high-yield monster assets.
That would be the Pantheon of Woe.
Unequivocally. It's an investment portfolio engineered to do one thing: support C'tan shards. Its core mechanism is this Cosmic Distortion Aura.
When within 6 inches of an enemy unit, it imposes a -1 modifier to the opponent's armor penetration value.
Don't just read the rule, analyze it. It's a tax. A sophisticated operational tax on the enemy's defensive capital. You suddenly have to pay more of your theoretical savings roll just to stay solvent against their basic attacks. It's insidious.
And this tax can be increased. By spending 3 mortal wounds as a capital investment, the aura's radius can be extended to 9 inches for a turn.
You see? They're literally paying in blood to make you less efficient. This whole detachment is built for maximum grinding, sustained pressure. But fine, for the sake of thoroughness, let's briefly touch on the other 2 before we dismiss them.
The Cursed Legion. It's a high-aggression, melee-focused portfolio centered around the new asset, Necrosaur Ementar.
Ah, yes, the murderous brute, as his official designation reads. This one is all about getting a fights-first capability and, what's the rule? Cold fury.
Correct. It grants aggressive strength buffs to the destroyer cadres. A classic glass cannon build.
A speculative investment, then. High risk, high reward. It lives or dies on liquidating assets on the charge. Too much variance for a stable portfolio. And the third one?
The Cryptic Conclave.
A complete non-starter. It's totally overshadowed by the aggressive yield of the other 2. It's all about supporting cryptex and warriors, the basic infantry assets. The Necrons, in a moment of shocking tactical clarity, seem to have figured out that managing a bunch of complex support characters is less profitable than just fielding 4 walking star gods.
So we dismiss it as non-competitive for this audit.
Correct. delisted. Now, this is critical. This entire asset inflation, this whole mess, it doesn't just hinge on these detachments. It hinges on two core fundamental restructurings of the C'tan datasheet itself. These apply across the board, no matter the portfolio. Read me the two primary market disruptors.
The audit identifies two primary factors. First, a 66% increase in mobility liquidity, which we're terming the speed tax reversal.
A 66% increase. We'll get back to that absurdity in a moment. What's the second?
Second, a radical alteration in the durability calculations. A shift from the previous halving damage logic to a flat -1 damage reduction protocol.
All right. Let's start this audit properly. Pillar 1, the Star God valuation. And we begin with that speed tax reversal. For decades, the one thing we could count on was Necron inefficiency. C'tan were anchors.
High damage, high toughness, but extremely slow.
Miserably slow. A 6-inch movement. That was their fatal flaw. It meant Imperial commanders could use a simple, reliable counter tactic. Kiting. You just keep your heavy weapons at maximum range, stay outside that pathetic 6-inch bubble, and let the slow, expensive asset bleed itself out trying to cross the board.
That foundational inefficiency is
liquidated. Completely and utterly liquidated. Give me the numbers, servitor, the hard data.
The Nightbringer and the Void Dragon, the two most common threat assets, have seen their base movement increase from 6 inches to 10 inches. The Deceiver and Transcendent C'tan moved to 8 inches.
So for the primary threats, that's a 66.6% increase in base mobility. Do you understand? That's not a tweak. That's not a marginal gain. That is a revolution in kinetic potential that our existing threat models, they just didn't account for it.
And the problem is compounded, sir.
It's exponential, not linear. That's what people don't get. It's compounded by two other fundamental advantages they just stapled onto the data sheet. The first one is the fly keyword,
which allows them to ignore the terrain tax, as you call it. They move over ruins and obstacles without penalty.
They ignore the logistics of the battlefield. It's cheating. And the second one, the real killer, native deep strike.
For the listener, deep strike allows a unit to be held in reserve and then deployed later in the game, anywhere more than 9 inches from an enemy unit.
Exactly. So what does that do strategically? It transforms the C'tan from a slow, predictable anchor into a precision-guided kinetic missile. You can no longer count on your deployment zone, that safe space where you keep your expensive tanks. It's not safe anymore.
A C'tan can be held until turn 2 or 3 and then deployed precisely where the enemy line is weakest.
9 inches away from your most valuable asset. It's a threat multiplier that Departamento simply did not budget for. But wait, it gets worse. Because Auspec's tactics was right to highlight the enhancements in the Pantheon of Row.
The Quantum Goad.
The Quantum Goad. If the Necron commander invests in this specific upgrade, the Nightbringer gains the ability to advance and charge.
Meaning it can add a d6 roll to its movement and still declare a charge in the same turn.
Let's do the math. Let's calculate the true threat range for the gloss-brained listener. Base move is 10 inches. What's the average on a d6 advance roll?
3.5 inches on average.
Right, so that's 13.5 inches of movement before the charge. A charge from 9 inches away needs, what, a successful 8 or 9 on 2 dice to be reliable and get around screens? Let's be generous and say an average successful charge roll is 7 inches.
10 plus 3.5 plus 7. That's a 20.5-inch average threat range.
20.5 inches. In a single turn, that's nearly 2 feet of table movement. This changes everything. It ensures the C'tan are always in the green for engagement potential. They aren't waiting for you. They are on you before your artillery can even get a bead. Your entire rear echelon is strategically bankrupt.
The audit's verdict on movement, then.
Audit verdict on movement. Confirmed. This liquidity surge alone justifies the buy order. The speed tax is gone. Imperial commanders who fail to adapt their screening protocols are committing tactical malpractice. Our previous assessment is a critical failure. Now, the durability.
Pillar 2.2, the Stat-Check Anomaly.
This is the one that triggered the audit. Auspec's tactics claims they have better durability. I call it mathematical optimism. The old rule, halving damage, that was pure defensive capital against our best weapons. They gave that up for a flat -1. It seemed insane.
Shall I bring up the breakpoint efficiency table? It compares the two protocols directly.
Do it. I want to see exactly where this new rule fails. Show me the numbers.
Very well. Against low damage, high volume weapons, say damage 1 or damage 2, the new rule is effectively the same as the old. D1 or D2 weapons still inflict 1 wound per successful hit. It's neutral.
Fine. So it's no worse against chaff fire. What about mid-tier threats? Power weapons.
Also neutral. A flat damage 3 weapon like a Power Fist would have been rounded up to 2 wounds under the old rule. Under the new -1 rule, it's also 2 wounds.
Right, but here's the point. Where the old rule was worth its weight in gold was against our dedicated anti-tank, our spike damage. Read me the data for high-impact ordnance.
Against a heavy laser profile. D6 plus 4 damage, averaging 7.5. The previous halving protocol would result in 4 wounds taken.
4 wounds, a solid chunk.
And under the new rule?
Under the new -1 rule, it results in 6.5 wounds taken.
6.5, that's a huge increase in our favor. What about Melta, the tank killer's choice?
The Melta profile. D6 plus 2, averaging 5.5 damage. The old halving logic resulted in 3 wounds taken. The new -1 logic results in 4.5 wounds taken.
Stop. There, that's it. Do you see it, listener? Against our dedicated high-damage assets, the C'tan have mathematically lost durability. It's a 50% loss in defensive solvency against our primary anti-tank weapons. I knew it. Auspex Tactics is a purveyor of speculative lies. The rule is a downgrade.
Sir, I must interject. While your observation on spike damage is mathematically sound, the audit requires us to account for the volume of fire offset.
What offset? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you're factoring in luck.
No, sir. I am referring to the other datasheet augmentations that happened at the same time. We cannot analyze the -1 damage rule in a vacuum.
Go on.
First, the Shards received a raw increase to their liquidation threshold. Their wounds value increased from 12 to 16.
A static 33% increase in asset capacity, okay.
The second, and more importantly, they all universally received a 5+ feel no pain save.
The 5+ FNP. A third roll to ignore damage after everything else. So they traded surgical protection against big hits for just raw statistical endurance, but they're trying to win through sheer attrition.
Precisely. The full defensive profile is now toughness 11, 16 wounds, a 3+ base save, a 4+ invulnerable save, and a 5+ feel no pain, all coupled with the -1 damage reduction.
Let's model it. No more theory. Let's run a simulation on the insolvency of Imperial anti-tank. You, listener, have a standard reliable Lascannon, S12, AP3, D6 plus 1 damage. You fire it at the Nightbringer. Walk me through it.
Assuming a hit and a wound, the Nightbringer makes it 4+ invulnerable save. That passes 50% of the time, so half your shots are already gone.
And for the ones that get through, the ones that should be doing, on average, 4.5 damage.
The damage is immediately reduced by the -1 protocol, dropping it to 3.5.
And then?
This remaining 3.5 damage is then subjected to the 5+ feel no pain. Statistically, this mitigates another 33% of the incoming damage.
So, a successful, unsaved Lascannon shot, the pride of the Imperial Guard, deals an average of what, 2.31 wounds? Is that right?
That is the correct average, sir.
It means our primary method of asset liquidation is now fiscally irresponsible. To reliably destroy one of these 16-wound assets in a single turn. My God, the model requires a staggering 32 to 36 Lascannon shots.
That level of concentrated fire is not present in most standard army lists.
It's not present in any sane army list. You can't focus an entire army's anti-tank firepower on one target for one turn. It's mathematical oppression. Our entire high-yield doctrine is officially mathematically insolvent. We're just wasting ammunition.
The audit's verdict on durability, then, sir.
Audit verdict on durability, reluctant agreement. The Departamento confirms that Auspex Tactics' underlying claim is factually solvent, while the old rule was better against specific spikes. The combination of 16 wounds, -1 damage, and the FNP creates a statistically superior profile against the volume of attacks in the current meta. The claim is, unfortunately, confirmed.
Which brings us to their price-to-earnings ratio, their points efficiency.
Exactly. They're fast, they're nearly immortal, but are they a sunk cost trap? What's the fiscal cost here?
Current valuation is approximately 345 points for the Nightbringer and 330 for the Void Dragon.
So fielding 3 of them puts you at nearly 1,000 points. That's half your budget. That's the threshold of portfolio saturation. For that price, what's the expected return?
Hi, sir. A single C'tan can reliably liquidate units worth 200 to 400 points in a single melee phase. Land Raiders, Terminator squads. The Nightbringer, for instance, has a 63% probability of neutralizing a standard Land Raider in one round of combat.
That's an exceptionally high return on investment. They are blue-chip stocks trading at a discount. And even if they fail, they've consumed the opponent's entire turn of shooting. They've locked the market.
Which leads to their primary vulnerability, which Auspex Tactics also noted.
Scoring insolvency. You spend 1,000 points on 3 models, they can kill everything on the board, but they can't be everywhere at once. They can't do the administrative tasks required to win the game. That low model count, that is their only real administrative vulnerability.
The Imperial strategy must pivot to exploiting their lack of objective control.
Exactly. Move block them. Outmaneuver them. Drown them in cheap bodies. Make the Necron commander choose between liquidation and administration, because they can't do both. Now let's look at how they're building these portfolios.
Pillar 3. List architecture analysis. The 6 archetypes.
We need to see which of these are efficient and which are just. Speculative gambles. The core conflict is between the Hypercrypt Legion's flexibility and the Pantheon of Woe's raw pressure. Let's start with the one that prioritizes mobility.
Portfolio A. The Hypercrypt C'tan spam.
This is the extreme version. 4, maybe 5 C'tan, Nightbringer, Void Dragon, Deceiver, and a couple of Transcendent C'tan. The goal is simple. Corner the market on durability.
The key mechanism is the Hypercrypt Legion detachments rules, primarily the Cosmic Precision stratagem.
This is the loophole. This is the real killer. It lets a unit arriving from deep strike deploy 3 inches away from an enemy, not 9, 3 inches. That negates screening. You can't physically block them anymore. They just appear inside your lines, right next to your most valuable tank. It's not precision, it's a hostile takeover.
And this is combined with the hyperphasing rule.
The high-frequency trading strategy. At the end of your opponent's turn, you can just pick up 2 of your units and put them back into reserves. So if a C'tan gets bogged down fighting some worthless chaff, or it's taking too much fire, poof, it's gone. Ready to reappear on a vulnerable flank next turn.
The assets are never static. They are constantly repositioned for maximum tactical arbitrage.
Press verdict. This is the superior investment vehicle. It's a hostile takeover list. It doesn't play the objective game. It prevents the opponent from playing at all. Movement and redeployment win administrative objectives. This is the most dangerous build.
Next, Portfolio B. The Pantheon of Woe Specialty Fund.
This is the one Auspex saw the most of initially. It's all about raw statistical output. Maximize the number of C'tan to get the most out of that Cosmic Distortion Aura.
But as noted, it requires mandatory operational taxes in the form of enhancements like the Quantum Goad.
And that's its flaw. It suffers from an extreme objective control deficit. It's a binary strategy. It either tables the opponent by turn 3, or it gets outscored by cheap, expendable objective holders.
The moment you divert points to cheap scoring units, you dilute the portfolio's core strength.
Kraus verdict. It's a win-more detachment. A tourist trap for novice players who only care about killing. It doesn't solve the fundamental problem of being outmaneuvered. Hypercrypt is the smarter long-term investment.
Portfolio C. The Silent King Hybrid.
Ah, finally. A portfolio that shows a shred of fiscal responsibility. This one diversifies. It takes the Silent King, maybe 2 C'tan, and some long-range support like Doomsday Arcs.
The Silent King provides crucial command equity in the form of rerolls, stabilizing the list's output.
And the Doomsday Arcs provide long-range solvency. You can actually engage the enemy's backline without having to risk your expensive C'tan immediately. The C'tan here are a strategic hedge, not the entire plan.
It's a balanced approach.
Kraus verdict. Stable stock. This is the responsible choice. It has shooting, melee, support, and scoring. It's far less likely to crash against a horde army, which is the great weakness of the pure C'tan spam. This is the list for a multi-day tournament.
Portfolio D is the Cursed Legion Destroyer Cult.
The speculative asset. High risk, high reward. It's all about Necrosaur Amintar and a big unit of Scorpec destroyers. The whole plan rests on the Cold Fury rule, that plus 2 strength buff.
Compounding interest, as the audit calls it.
It's a glass cannon portfolio. It has to land the first punch. If the destroyers get wiped out early, the whole army collapses into insolvency. Mobility almost always beats raw stats. I'd avoid this one.
Portfolio E, the Obsidian Vault, uses multiple generic Transcendent C'tan.
Yes, this is an interesting one. They swap out a named character for a generic Transcendent C'tan, and they give it the Sempiternal Weave enhancement. That brings its objective control characteristic up to 4.
It's a direct attempt to solve the scoring insolvency problem.
It is. You're turning your giant, unkillable monster into an administrative objective holder. A 16-wound OC4 model is a nightmare to shift off a central objective. Kraus verdict. A calculated risk. It sacrifices the raw utility of the named characters for bulk and scoring. It's a viable competitive option.
And finally, Portfolio F, the budget list.
Ugh, don't even. I'm losing power cycling just thinking about this. The Oops All Warriors build, the Silver Tide, 60 Screaming Infantry models, and maybe 1 C'tan.
It relies on the reanimation protocols of the warriors.
It relies on a concept that is a relic of a previous fiscal quarter. Warriors are inefficient. They die in droves to the kind of massed D2 weaponry that every competitive list has now. Heavy bolters, plasma, they just melt.
The math doesn't support their survivability in the current meta.
Kraus verdict. This list is delisted. It's an obsolescence warning. It's a poor investment. The only way you win with this is if your opponent is as gloss-brained as you are and brings nothing but single-shot Lascannons. Now let's talk about the source.
Pillar 4, the Auspex factor. Source reliability and bias.
We have to audit the auditor. We cannot base our entire doctrinal shift on market hype. First, the early data warning.
Auspex himself admits his data comes from the first weekend of the release,
which the Department flags as a period of extreme speculative volatility. Of course, the new thing looks dominant before anyone has developed a counter-strategy. We don't authorize doctrine changes based on 72 hours of telemetry. The math, however, the math on the data sheets is fixed. That demands attention.
Second point of contention, his logistics claim.
The logistics. He claimed Imhotep the Stormlord was missing from lists because of model availability, a supply chain shortage. Are you kidding me? Dismiss this immediately as irrelevant civilian logistics. We are auditing tactical efficiency, not the production schedule of some miniatures factory. Imhotep's exclusion is a tactical choice based on resource efficiency.
Imhotep generates command points. However, most key stratagems cannot target monster units. Therefore, the marginal utility of his extra CP is significantly diminished in a C'tan-heavy list.
He's a poor investment for this portfolio. The civilian is mistaking a smart tactical choice for a manufacturing problem. This is why we do these audits. And that brings me to the proxy warning. This model shortage is creating a scarcity bubble,
which leads to unsanctioned fabrication, 3D printing.
The gray tide, they call it. And it's coming. We have to plan for the capability, not the supply chain. If the rules allow this imbalance, the models will appear on the table, sanctioned or not. Do not underestimate them.
So the final durability check on Auspex's claim.
As much as it pains me to say it, confirmed. The mathematical audit confirms his claim. The combination of 16 wounds, -1 damage, and a 5+ FNP is statistically superior in the current meta. His mathematical optimism was just math, and it was right.
Which brings us back to the central question.
Bang's desk, yes. Is this a fiscal bubble or a market crash? The verdict. It's a market correction. It is a high threat, but it is manageable.
It's not a bubble because the underlying rules are real and fixed.
Correct. The valuation is legitimate. But it's not a total market crash either. It's not game-breaking if the Imperial commander is prepared to adapt. The primary flaw remains their action economy deficit. They can be move blocked. A cheap unit of guardsmen can still neutralize a 345-point Nightbringer for a turn. That is the only reason the whole system hasn't collapsed.
But that brings us to the underlying philosophical issue, sir.
The philosophical abomination. The reanimation protocols. They call it a miracle of technology. I call it a tax loophole. Listen to me. Our doctrine is based on asset liquidation. We shoot something, it dies, it is removed from the board. Simple. Clean.
But with Necrons, if you fail to completely liquidate the unit...
If you leave even 1 wound remaining, they get to trigger their protocols. And they just come back. D3 wounds, sometimes more. It's not resilience. It's an administrative failure on our part. It's providing interest on the remaining principal. You failed to pay the full liquidation price, so they punish you by regenerating their value in their own turn.
It allows them to commit what you term penny stock violence.
Yes. They can make cheap, inefficient attacks that barely scratch your armor and then just heal back to full strength, winning through sheer infuriating attrition. You must achieve total liquidation, or you've just wasted your ammunition. The goal isn't damage. The goal is dilution. It forces us to overcommit, and that is tactical inefficiency. It's cheating masquerading as resilience.
Which leads to the final advisory.
Yes. The outro. Liquidation instructions. Final warning. The audit is done. Your standard Imperial anti-tank doctrine is now statistically insolvent. Stop wasting good ordnance.
Directive 1. Portfolio rebalancing.
1. Liquidate your Lascannons. I mean that figuratively and literally. High damage, single-shot weapons are inefficient. The -1 damage and the invulnerable save, neuter them. 2. Invest in volume. The only solvent answer is massed fire.
Weapons with lethal hits, or damage 1 and damage 2 profiles.
Heavy bolters. Gatling cannons. Assault cannons. Drown them in dice. You're not trying to punch through with one good hit. You're trying to force them to make 30 saves. You're subjecting them to the law of averages, our only remaining ally. Even a star god can't roll a 4+ forever.
And Directive 3.
Free. Hedge with chaff and focus fire. Use cheap, expendable asset shields. Guardsmen. Skitarii. Anything under 100 points. Block the market. Sacrifice them freely to stop a C'tan from reaching something important. And for the love of the Emperor, shoot the support characters first. Kill the Technomancers. Kill the Reanimators. They're the ones providing the interest. Don't engage the principal until the interest is gone.
A market correction. A nerf is expected in the April 2026 data slate if win rates exceed 55%.
Expected but not guaranteed. Until then, you are operating in a hostile, mathematically unsound environment. Servitor? Finalize this paperwork. Stamp it, critical, and retrieve the designated high-proof beverage. My head hurts from explaining basic fiscal insolvency to the entire galaxy. This audit is closed.
Yes, Senior Auditor.
The alien stats are a lie. Only the Emperor's wrath is absolute. But bring a calculator, just in case. Now get out of here and rebalance your damn portfolios.